Okay, so there you go. There's NHCSTE. So for questions, demos, and discounted pricing, you can contact me, Cyndy Currier. That's my email. That's my cell phone number. And this is being recorded. So should you say, oh, who was I supposed to get in touch with for that discounted pricing? There you have it. And this is the website. So it would behoove you, if you're going to purchase something, to go here and look at the list of all of the vendors that we work with so that you can get a discount. And I mention this simply because most of the vendors are excellent, that if you go to them, they'll let you know that there's a discount available, but some of them will not. So you order from them directly, you might not get the discount. So please know that in almost every instance, you order through me. I take your purchase order, I place the order, I collect from you, and so on. So be aware of that, because we're working hard to save you money. And 3D Bear. So we're going to be moving on to 3D Bear. This is a great program using augmented reality that inspires its students. That's just one of the many features, but I'm not going to go into that because that's why I'm introducing you now to Mitch Weisburgh, so he can really amaze you with this program. So let me flip this PowerPoint, go back to share screen.
Wait a minute, Cyndy, I thought you were going to be talking about 3D Bear.
No, you're doing
Oh, darn. Okay.
it. Okay.
Okay. So let me share my screen then, and welcome. So let me go into present mode, and let's just see. Can you all see this now?
Yeah.
Okay, so there's two QR codes here. On the left is a QR code that just takes you to the 3D Bear website if you're interested. On the right is a QR code, and I'll have this slide up at the end also. But on the right is a QR code if you want to get a copy of these slides or be access to these slides. There's a bit.ly code beneath it, but also the QR code. Well, so if you want the slides. What I'm going to be covering is an intro to I guess 3D Bear, and really talking about the pedagogy behind 3D Bear and STEM and STEAM. Go into 3D Bear a little bit, and demo 3D Bear. Because there's the NASA mission to Mars, which is going to be landing in February, I thought it'd be kind of interesting to show you how you can embed NASA's 3D objects into 3D Bear. We'll go through some sample student STEM projects and what students have done using 3D Bear and STEM. Some give you access to certain lesson plans that you can see. We'll cover. There's a special CMTC 60-day trial of 3D Bear and special NHCSTE quest for 3D Bear, and any questions. But I will say that if you have questions during this presentation, you can either unmute yourself and just ask the question, or you can put the question into the chat. I may not be looking at the chat, but Cyndy and Stan will be, and they can interrupt me, and then we can focus on the question. Oh, the presentation link. So let me just go back. Here is the presentation link, and see, it works. You put something into the chat, and that's how it works. Okay, so let me now go, and this is actually for you. So when we now talk about STEM and STEAM all the time, in the chat, can you put through some of the reasons why you think or you feel that we came up with the term STEM? Why did we even focus on STEM or STEAM in classrooms when we already teach science and math and technology? So what are some of your thoughts? And I'm hoping a couple of you have opinions about why did we come up with STEM?
Do we have to unmute them or did they?
No, they could put it in the chat, or you can unmute yourself. Rapidly change, because science and technology are rapidly changing, and school is rapidly changing. That it's, you know, collaborative learning, and it's learning across the curriculum. That it's engaging kids in critical thinking and problem solving. That it helps students excel in other areas, and actually kids who don't necessarily learn through didactic pedagogies, they can learn through doing. We wanted to show cross-curricular connections and give examples, and I think, you know, you guys live this, so you guys know this. I want to, from my perspective, one of the big reasons is we came up with STEM and STEAM for teaching kids, because students were really, when we looked at the careers that we have and what we want students to know about science and math and technology, and we want more students going to engineering, students weren't learning it. And so I'm saying we, but it wasn't me, but, you know, we all as an education community in the US felt that by linking science, math, technology, engineering, and art through doing meaningful activities, we could engage and motivate students. And that's really the crux of why we're doing STEM and STEAM. And that's really what I'm going to be talking about today.
And we had one other one. We needed to acknowledge the importance of all aspects of.
Oh, yes. Thank you.
And later STEAM with the arts.
This kind of leads into, you know, we teach a certain way in schools, or historically have taught a certain way of schools, but what do we know now about the way children and adults learn that may be different from the way we taught traditionally in schools? So what are some of the things that we've learned, let's say over the last 5, 10, 15 years about how people learn? So I'm going to throw one out, but I'm hoping some of you also think of some. For example, what we've learned is that a lot of us learn through making mistakes, and getting people to try things is really important to getting them to learn deeply. What are some of the other things that we've learned about how we all learn?
It seems to be more visual now.
Right. We're trying to make things more visual. Not just, you know, listening to somebody or reading something or doing problems, but seeing things. Great idea. Some other ideas.
Oh, okay, nothing here.
No. Well, Stan, I'm going to put you on the spot since you're here. What are some of the things that you've found out about how people learn?
Well, I've always gone with the biological definition of learning, which is actually a change in behavior with experience and practice. So that directs right on to hands-on learning and giving experience and practice doing things. You know, one of the examples I always used is a phone number. If I tell you my phone number and you never call me, you probably won't remember what my phone number is for very long. But if you call me every day for a week or two, you'll just know my phone number. So it has to be about your interaction with the stuff. And there's many ways to interact, whether it's visually and verbally or written word and all that stuff. So all those things aside, what really is important, I think, for me is the experience and the practice in order to change the behavior, which is what learning is. So those are my 2 cents.
So practice, learning through different modes of communication, visual, kinesthetic, doing, auditory, hearing. I like Mark's comment that learning needs to be personalized. I'll also throw in that you know, mammals, probably all animals, but mammals particularly, you know, are hardwired to learn through play, and so play is a great way of learning. Because that's our brains are just set for it. And as a matter of fact, one of the things that we've learned is that when we learn something, we get a dose of oxytocin in the brain, which is very pleasurable. The learning is a very pleasurable activity. And so the more we make learning, the more we link learning to fun activities that ignite this dose of oxytocin, and give people a chance to try things out and make mistakes, the more and more deeply we're going to be able to teach kids. And that's really some of the things that we've really learned in the last, let's say, 5 or 10 or 15 years that we didn't adapt that much when we were really focused on the 4, on individual academic subjects. So I'm going to go, through just a few other parts of learning. Like, you all are familiar with Bloom's taxonomy, and you know that it's the process of creation that is really the highest form of learning. And what we want to do with kids in STEM and STEAM is not just getting them facts to remember or concepts to understand. We want to get them to apply what they're learning, figure out, how are we going to use this? How is this going to work? We want to get them analyzing, understanding what's the cause, what's the trend, what are the different outputs. We want to get them evaluating, how is this going to impact things in the future? What's the result? What if this happened? What else could happen? And most of all, we want to get them then creating. What can we innovate? What can we change? What can we design? What should we plan? And it's those types of activities that we most want to induce when we talk about STEM learning. And as you see, project-based learning or problem-based learning or inquiry-based learning or 3D learning, as it's called in the next generation science standards, that type of learning is what yields that really deep understanding that we want to achieve with kids. And then one of you brought up that, learning has to be individualized. Every child has special needs, and we want to teach the way these children are learning. And so we know that people are social animals. We learn through communication and collaboration. We want to get people communicating and collaborating, especially if they produce something and then have to communicate it with others. That's a great way of learning. We want to get kids their critical thinking across different disciplines, and we want to get kids creating. So these are the types of activities that we most want kids to be able to do it. We want to most make available to kids as they're going through different STEM activities and learning. In 3D Bear, we break this down into like a 3-step learning process. And the first step is getting kids engaged. Now, engaging means motivating the kids to really want to continue. And in order to do that, you have to give them something that is relatively easy to do, at least to get started, and then increasingly difficult. You're not going to be engaged in something if you don't think we can do it. So we have to give kids the confidence to know that they can succeed. And through giving them the confidence that they can succeed, making the first steps really easy and motivating the students, we're going to develop their confidence and their grit or perseverance. Once they are engaged, we go to the second step, which is where very often we spend our time. We can't afford to skip that first step because that really prepares the way for the second step, which is getting the kids to explore. What are the concepts? What are the procedures? What's the information that they're supposed to be learning? How do they use this to solve real problems? Providing customized labs and hands-on activities so that the kids can learn by doing. And then the third step, which we also sometimes skip as we teach, is to get them to really master what they're learning. And that's progressively giving them more advanced problems to solve, getting them to use those higher levels of Bloom to apply, analyze, evaluate, and create, and giving them the direction and the time so that they can reflect on what they're doing, what they're learning. They can assess their own abilities as we assess their abilities, giving them time to practice and helping them learn how to self-direct. And these are the lifetime skills that we want to give to kids. Now, we do this through a process of design thinking, and there's many different ways of breaking down design thinking. We found that by breaking it into these 7 steps, it gives teachers a real algorithm for implementing and managing the design learning in their classes. So the first step is to get the students to accept some challenge. And that's very critical to student voice and student choice, which we know is very motivating to the kids. The next step is to have them get whatever background information they need in order to meet the challenge that they've already accepted. So this might be academic principles. This may be practical issues. This may be what people are currently doing if there's a problem. And we can have them work individually or in small groups to get this background information. They can read it. We can talk about it. They can do research on it. Once they have the background information, then to have a discussion, and this can be a whole class discussion, this can be small groups, to define the outcomes that they want to achieve. This is going to be involving brainstorming techniques and critical thinking techniques for them to come up with potential solutions and what the obstacles are to doing what they think that they want to accomplish. And then the third step is helping them come to decisions on exactly what they're going to do. What's the solution? What's the presentation? What's the mock-up that they're going to be doing, and having them analyze the benefits, the risks, and the costs of doing that. Once they've decided on what they're going to do, then we want them to compose, well, why are they doing this? What do they think is going to happen? And that's the composition stage. Why are they doing this? What do they think is going to happen? How do they defend what they think that they're going to do? And really, in 3D Bear, it's only then in that sixth step that they go to 3D Bear and they build their solution, where they build, using augmented reality, a scene, a photo, or a video of whatever it is that they're trying to convey. And then in the seventh step, if they know that they're going to be presenting whatever it is that they're producing to an authentic audience, they're going to spend a lot more time on those first 5 or 6 steps to make sure that they don't look bad when they're presenting to their peers or a bunch of adults or a bunch of other teachers or what have you. So as you're going through projects, if you think about those projects and break them into those 7 steps, we call this the 7 steps of design thinking, it's a lot easier to think about what you're going to be doing with your students and to manage the student work. And if you think about it, those 7 steps fit really well into that engage, learn, master model. So getting the students to accept some challenge, that's engaging. Getting them to research, discuss, decide, and compose what they're going to be doing, that's really the learning process. And the mastery process is having them build something, document, present, reflect, and iterate. And so those 2 models, the design thinking model on the top and the engage, learn, mastery pedagogy model on the bottom, fit very well into a STEM curriculum. So any thoughts or questions on that pedagogy before we go into 3D Bear? Okay, so let's just talk a little bit about 3D Bear. So 3D Bear is a Finnish company. It comes out of the Finnish education system, where really the whole system is built on students doing. They don't actually do testing, end of year high stakes tests in Finland. They have students learn by doing projects, by working together. And in the process, even though they're kind of confused about it themselves, they've actually been the highest tested nation for international tests. And they don't really care because that's not their focus. 3D Bear is a way that many teachers in Finland are using to get students to create, to solve problems. Using 3D Bear, the students use a mobile device and augmented reality to create photos and videos to visualize different activities that they're doing in school. So using 3D Bear, students have voice that uses augmented reality. They collaborate. They're doing meaningful projects. These are all the things that increase student motivation and persistence to do the hard work of learning. And I will say 3D Bear does not work on Chromebooks. It works solely on iOS or Android mobile devices. So one of the great things about 3D Bear is you don't need a device per kid, because going back to, let me just go back to these 7 steps. Really, it's only in the 6th step right here that you're using 3D Bear. The rest of this is all the hard work that we want the kids to do for learning. And the 3D Bear, they can work together in groups to do the 3D Bear part. So that's just a little bit about 3D Bear itself. What I'd like to do now is I'd like to demo 3D Bear. Here's 2 different student projects. The one on the left is one that shows selective breeding, and in order to show that, you have the first generation, which is like a brown sheep and a white sheep. And then because brown is dominant, you have 4 brown pigs or sheep that results. But when those 4 sheep produce offspring, 3 out of every 4 are going to be brown, but 1 out of every 4 is going to be white. So that's demonstrating genetics through 3D Bear. And on the right, using, say, the NASA collection, you can pull an artifact that's taken from Mars. So this is a landscape in Mars. You can pull the actual rover that is landing on Mars, and of course a space person. Not that there's space people on Mars. And I have a quote from Jacek Polubiak, who's an assistant principal in New York, that just echoes the fact that kids are really amazing. That if you allow kids to unleash their creativity, they're going to come up with different ways of learning, more and different and wider ways of learning than any of us can, because they're at an age where their creativity is just reigns. So I'm going to come out of this presentation now and stop sharing so that I can share my my 3D Bear. So it's going to take me a second to activate my device here. Okay, and okay, 7, 9, 3. Okay. And hopefully I'm connecting, right? And so let me now go back and share my screen. Okay, and do you all see my my iPhone here? I'm hoping that's a yes. So let me just go into, you see 3D Bear is an app here. I'm just using my iPhone. I'm going to click on the app and open it up here. And one of the things that happens in the app is that when you open it as a teacher, you see things that other people have done. Different examples. I'm going to go to there's also built into the app a whole bunch of lesson plans. So you have lesson plans that are available here on different topics. I'm going to type in this plus key in the bottom here to go into the create mode. And I'm going to make this disappear for a second. Oops. Okay. And what you see is I'm just looking through right now the camera of my device, and I can go around my office here. And the way I'm going to start creating in my environment is these 3 objects here on the left. So I'm going to click on those objects and just, and what pops up is a number of different things that I can place. So here are 3D objects. Here are different animals. Here are items from Minecraft. Here are, and I'm not logged in, but here are different dinosaurs. I have plants. I have castles. So there's about 400 different items that I can use in 3D Bear. What I'm going to do is, let's just say I'm doing a lesson on 3D shapes. I'm going to choose this cone here on the left, and I'm going to click on it, and I'm going to place the cone in my scene. So And this is what augmented reality is, because I'm looking at reality, but I'm augmenting it with something myself too. And I can move this around. So right now I'm moving it vertically. I can move it horizontally. I can make it smaller. I can make it larger. On the bottom, I have different things I can do. So here's the color. I can change it to, let's say, brown if I want to. I can rotate it. So I can rotate it a little bit with my fingers, but if I want to, I can rotate it 90 degrees in any direction. So I'm going to choose this middle one. And now I've rotated it 90 degrees. I can duplicate it if I want. I'm going to make it a little bit larger. And I'm going to rotate it a little bit that way. So I'm looking at it more from the side. And basically I've now placed one thing in my environment. Now, if I want to, let me place another item, because let's say I'm going to combine cones, and another part of my lesson is spheres. So I have a sphere here. I'm going to make that a little bit smaller. Let's see, let's make that a lighter shade of brown right here. And I can manipulate that. And let's see, so right now it's in front of the cone. Let me take this cone and move it here and move this down and move the cone more. And what I could do is I can make an ice cream cone there. And that's actually one of the lessons, is how do you take 3D shapes and make other things out of it? So I've taken a sphere and a cone and I've made an ice cream cone. And as part of my assignment to the kids, I can say, make a scene based on this. So I'm going to now add in a goat into my scene. And I'm going to rotate the goat. And then I could add other things if I wanted to, but if my scene is now done as a student, I can send it to the teacher by taking a picture of it. So this round circle here allows me to take a photo, or if I hold down that round circle, I can take a video. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a video and I'm going to annotate that video as I take it. So I hold down this round circle, and in my class, I was asked to look at 3D shapes. I used a cone and a cylinder to make an ice cream cone. Oh, look, here's a goat. Looks like the goat is hungry. I hope he doesn't eat the ice cream cone before I do. And boom, that video then goes to the teacher, and the teacher can showcase it to the rest of the class. It also goes to the camera roll of the device, and the student can use that video and edit it, or use those photos and edit them and put together a whole string of videos to make a much longer video or showcase, or incorporate those videos or photos into a slide presentation. So that's the basics operations that you do in 3D Bear. I'm going to end this scene for right now. And the next session, next section of the presentation is to also describe, say, what you can do with NASA. So I'm going to press these 3 objects here again, and I'm going to go up to where it says search, and I'm going to point in there. Now, I've used this search a lot, but what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to go out to Sketchfab, and I'm going to see what does NASA have available that I can use in 3D Bear. So I'm going to type in NASA, I type in Go, and these are all different things that NASA has on 3D Bear. So if I gave my kids the assignment of developing a scene that mirrors what's going to happen when we land on Mars in February, they can use a background. I'm going to take this Bennu one to have a Mars-like terrain. Okay, and let me just edit the colors. Okay. And here's kind of a Mars-like terrain. And let me just tilt that a little bit. Okay. And then let's choose this NASA bike. And I'm going to place that on the terrain. And make this terrain a little bit larger, move this up. Okay. And, you know, again, I'm still in my office, but I'm making my own picture. And let's just, I actually have different objects here. And let's just say that the other thing I want to do is I wanted to put a Martian space pirate in that picture. Because I'm a kid and I don't have to do everything in in reality. And let's get the colors on that a little bit better and maybe make him a little bit smaller. Okay. And here's my Mars scene of what I might expect that's going to be seen on Mars. And I can take a photo of that scene and send it to the teacher. Okay, so as you can see, you know, you can place the objects that come with 3D Bear. You can inquire into different objects. I said NASA before. I could also type in, let's say, space, and get a bunch of items that that are space related. If my kids are more advanced and they're creating objects, I can have them import the objects that they themselves create. I can go out to the web and find other objects that aren't on Sketchfab, and I can download them, and then I can import them as well. So that's the basic use of 3D Bear. What I'm going to do now is come out of here. Okay, and I'm going to show you some examples of how you might use that in a lesson. So, but while I'm setting up for that, does anybody have questions on what I just showed?
Not seeing anything.
Good. Okay. Oh, I guess something I just did that wrong. I'm going to stop sharing. Share screen because I need to share the sound this time. Okay. Oh, darn. I always do that. It's like I'm not sharing, I'm presenting, but I'm thinking like I'm sharing with you all, so it should be sharing. So you can just see, you know, similar to what I did before, here's these two examples. What the child did is he or she put a bunch of sheep, changed the colors of the sheep, labeled them P, F1, F2, because you can type in 3D Bear also. And this other example, very similar to what I did, but they put the module, they put a Martian space pirate, and they put it on a terrain that looks a little bit like Mars. And we talked about using the NASA objects, and then we'll go through some sample projects. Okay, so here are some projects that different kids have done. Here's one project that involves 3D shapes, and let's see.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Cyndy Patro. Today, I'm going to tell you about 3D shape which I explored with my ma'am in my class. This is a cube and this is square-based pyramid. Cube has 6 faces, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It has 8 vertices, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And
so there's a child explaining what they did with 3D shapes. Could you all hear that? Could you all hear the video?
You know, you also have reactions in your Zoom if you want to use that.
Okay, so let me do, here's a teacher, or actually this is a child explaining how to do multiplication using arrays using 3D Bear.
hello everyone, my name is Cyndy Patro. Today I'm going to tell you about array. In array, 2 things are there, rows and columns. In this array, I have arranged clones. And if we multiply 3 and 4, it equals to 12. Means in this array, 12 clones are there. For checking, let us count the clones. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Oh yes, we are correct. Means our array is correct. Thank you and have a nice day.
So, oops.
Hello
Oops.
everyone.
So,
Good morning
Ah.
everyone. My name is Sai
sorry about that.
Patru.
So again, students explaining their work and setting up scenes using 3D Bear, using augmented reality.
Hello everyone.
Oops.
My name is Sai Patru.
Let's go to the next page. Okay, here's an example here on the left of the students talking about the Sustainable Development Goals. As you probably know, the UN has come up with 17 different goals for a sustainable planet, and this is a great way of integrating science, math, even social studies, ELA, so all the different curriculum into a goal that kids really care about, because all kids are concerned about what the world's going to be like when they're adults. So here, let me just show, so this example.
Hello everyone. My name is Sai Sanjana. Today I'm going to tell you some lines on SDG 2 Zero Hunger. The SDGs aim is to end all forms of hunger and malnutrition by 2030, making sure all people, especially children, have sufficient and nutritious food all year. This involves promoting sustainable agriculture, supporting small-scale farmers, and equal access to land, technology, and markets. It means that we must give so many foods and nutritious fruits to the children of poor people. Thank you and have a nice day.
Oops. So there,
Hello everyone.
so there the student did research that the SDG 2 is hunger, and developed a presentation about how we could abolish hunger. And then redesigning a space is another great project where students can go in and you can have them outside redesigning a public space for the community based on certain goals. The one I'm going to show you is a middle school project where the kids had been complaining about the library. And so the teacher says, I'm tired of listening to you, or the librarian said, I'm tired of listening to your complaints about the library. You show what you would do with it. And so, so the students then went and redesigned the library. And it turns out that when they made their presentations to the principal incorporated some of their ideas, and he bought some of the things that the students had recommended.
Right away when I started to use 3D Bear with my students, I noticed their level of engagement. They were excited about using the app. They were excited about working with each other. I've used the 3D Bear app with English, I've used it with social studies, and most recently I used it with science. Today's task is going to build on the proverbs that you started researching yesterday. I just did a proverb lesson with my students where they had to illustrate the meaning of the proverb and try to get other students in different groups to decipher which proverb they were trying to illustrate.
When they introduced me to 3D Bear, I was like, this is gonna make life so much easier. This is gonna be really fun.
When I introduced augmented reality, just the concept to my students, it's not going away. Augmented reality is being used now by stores, by designers, by TV shows. This is something that is just going to get bigger. A teacher can figure out this app within a prep period. If somebody comes to me and says, I want to use this, and I have a half an hour before I have to teach my next class, I can show them the basics and we can figure out how to best implement that into one of their lessons.
I was amazed. I thought it was better than having like a video game
Please make sure you enter the class code that's on your paper and your group name as your nickname. I think the development of 3D Bear since I started with it has been huge. The galleries have expanded, there's animation, there's music, there's the capability to download any image you want from Thingiverse. There's always something new either for the holidays or for the sports, or every time I turn it on, there's something new, and discovering that with my students adds it to the fun too. Now you can video and add student voice is huge. 3D Bear allows the students to come to the front that normally wouldn't. I've used it with my inclusion classes, I've used it with my self-contained special ed classes, I've used it with my ESL students. And I think that it's been a game changer for them because they feel the same success as everybody else in the room. So you've all shared your designs with our classroom, so we can now continue to do some peer-to-peer review. The teacher dashboard that 3D Bear has created has been really successful. It allows the students to share their work seamlessly. At the end of an assignment, we can see all the different groups' work. I can easily click on them. The groups can explain, the other groups can see and experience what they were trying to.
So I don't want to take up all your time looking at that video. If you download the presentation, you can have access to that video also. But Susan Sclafani is a librarian. She's actually the head librarian for the district, but she teaches out of the middle school in Long Island. And we were there when they were doing the project, and it was just really cool seeing the reactions of the kids. And there was a question I know Peter asked, could 3D be ever used in landscape? I think you saw in this last video that on the iPads, they're using them in landscape. So yes, you can record a scene in landscape as well as portrait.
Hello everyone.
So what am I doing?
Right away when I...
So let me see if I can go to the next. Okay, so we have, I showed you earlier that in the app, we have some lesson plans that are in the app. But in addition to those, and again, you'll have access to them when you download the presentation. But there's 21 lessons that were developed this fall by teachers in New York City or New York State. These happen to be the New York City ones, and on the next page are the are outside of New York City for the most part. But some of these are clearly STEM activities. Some of them, like if you look at the Marisol's number 7, poetry and feelings, are not. But but animal survival here. And I'm going to increase the size here. And so you can see this a little bit better, but you'll be able to go in and take a look at any of these. So each one of these lesson plans has a basic format where we show, or the teachers have shown, how long the lesson should be taking. Very often, this one is aimed at 3rd grade. You're looking at different environments, what the topic is. Students, this is about students and the having learned how the organisms get their different traits, and then learning how why different organisms are able to survive in different environments. So in this example, you see that there are some animals that are different colors. You have the foxes here, and you have I think a bird that doesn't blend into the environment with up on top a bird, up on the left a bird that does blend into the environment, and why blending into the environment is a desirable trait. So here this shows a group of foxes, which before the teacher did this, I did not know that was called a skulk, and a gray and a red bird, and how the gray bird fits into the environment. These lesson plans show you how to introduce them to the class, what the students should be learning about as they're going through this, what the students should be designing and creating, how the students present, what the learning objectives are, how it should be assessed. And so generally there's also a form for either the students to do the self-assessment or for you to assess the students. So those are the different pieces that are used with all these different lesson plans. There's animal survival, there's using base 10 units from millions to thousands, coming down on 5, there's visually showing addition and subtraction, Number 9, math decomposition of numbers. 10 is putting together a picnic and how much does everything cost if you want to put together a picnic. Sarah Monteleone uses coding for the Now robot using and integrating that with augmented reality and 3D Bear. And then on the next page, visual edition, designing with number 4, SEL, but even SEL is really a huge use of 3D Bear. 7, Carly Mendez talking about biomes and creating different biomes with the interactions. 8, Pet Show Math, another math one. And then 9 and 10 are both really ELA. How do you use augmented reality to bolster arguments? And Andrew Averill was, how do you use the imagery? How do you visualize the imagery which we hear when we listen to poetry? So those are some sample lesson plans that you will have access to. And then for my part, I'd like to wrap up with 2 different parts. In New Hampshire, you have a 20% discount on the price of 3D Bear. So for 10 student license turns out to be about $8 a student. The 350 student license turns out to be about $350 a student. Those are annual licenses. If you're interested in purchasing 3D Bear, Cyndy had given you her email before, but here's Cyndy's email. And then also, if you're interested in trying 3D Bear, if you contact me, and here's my contact information, mitch@3dbear.io. But if you contact me and you can just describe, how you're thinking of using 3D Bear and mention that you heard me talk about it at CMTC, then I'll set you up with a free 60-day plan, which will include a 30 student license. And yeah, and I hope to hear from you, and I hope to hear how you use 3D Bear if you do try it. So that's what I wanted to present. And let me just put, while you may be asking questions, here's the link to 3D Bear itself on the left, and here's the link to the presentation if you want to have access to the resources in the presentation, and see if there are questions. Because I think we're supposed to end at 11, although we can hang out for another 15 minutes also, because there's nothing really directly after this. But we're supposed to end at 11, and it's pretty much close to 11 right now.
I think what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to stop the recording.